The first moment I realized something was terribly wrong was the day I overheard my future mother-in-law say that I did not belong in their family. Not that she did not like me. Not that she needed more time. She said, very clearly, that I should not even attend my own wedding. Imagine standing in the hallway of a house you thought welcomed you, holding a gift you brought for them, and suddenly becoming an unwanted intruder in a life you were supposed to build together. That was the moment everything shifted. That was the moment I knew this wedding was going to change me in ways I was nowhere near prepared for. People think families break you slowly, gently, with small comments and cold stares. But sometimes the truth is sharper. Sometimes it hits like a slap you never saw coming. And in that second, I felt something crack inside me. Not my heart. My expectations. I stopped assuming these people would ever treat me as one of their own. You have to understand something before I take you deeper. I was never the type to chase chaos. I grew up believing that kindness can soften almost anything, that patience earns respect, and that love blends families together like warm ingredients in a familiar recipe. But his family was not familiar. They were polished on the outside, carved from ice on the inside, smiling with mouths that never reached their eyes. And I walked into their lives thinking I could melt them. I truly believed effort could fix anything. But effort becomes humiliation when it meets a wall that never wanted to open. His mother would scan me from head to toe as though measuring every flaw. His sister would ask questions that were not questions at all, but tiny daggers coated in fake sweetness. And his father simply ignored me, as if pretending I was invisible would make me disappear faster. Yet my fiancé kept saying, "Give them time. They will warm up." Time passed. Nothing warmed. Still, I stayed hopeful. That is the dangerous thing about hopeful people. We hold on long after we should let go. The days before the wedding approached faster than I could blink, and while most brides spend that time choosing flowers or tasting cakes, I spent mine calming storms that were never mine to create. Every task turned into a battlefield. They rejected every suggestion I made. They dismissed every idea I shared. They even tried to convince my fiancé to let his sister choose the color scheme because she had better taste and deeper family knowledge. Imagine being told to step aside from a wedding that was supposed to be yours, simply because you were not born into the right bloodline. But I kept my voice steady. I did not argue. I did not fight. I knew that battles are not always won by the loudest person in the room. Sometimes silence is the blade that cuts the deepest, especially when you know how to use it. Everything reached a breaking point 1 week before the ceremony. I arrived at their house to drop off some documents, and that was when I heard it. His mother, his sister, and even his aunt, talking as if they were planning a surprise party. But it was something much different. They were planning to keep me away from my own wedding morning. They wanted to change the seating, the photographs, the entrance. They wanted to make sure I was nothing but a minor decoration in the background of their social show. And then she said the sentence that sealed everything. "She just does not fit our image. I wish she would not even come." The room spun around me. My breath felt thin. It is strange how one sentence can pull the ground from beneath your feet. But it can also do something else. It can light a fire inside you that refuses to go out. I walked out of that house with a calmness I cannot explain. It was not anger. It was clarity. The type of clarity that comes when you finally stop begging for a seat at a table that was never meant for you. If they did not want me there, that was fine. I was done seeking acceptance. But miss the wedding? Disappear quietly? Allow them to rewrite the narrative of my own life? Absolutely not. If they did not want me at the wedding, then I would become impossible to ignore. I would walk into that ceremony in a way that would make every eye land on me whether they liked it or not. Not out of pettiness. Out of self-respect. Out of reclaiming something that was being stolen from me piece by piece. Imagine a moment where humiliation tries to crush you. Now imagine taking that same humiliation and turning it into the fuel that makes you rise higher than anyone expected. That is what I decided to do. The next days were quiet, but inside my mind, plans began unfolding like silk. I changed things they did not know about. I adjusted arrangements they thought were set in stone. I prepared for something they never saw coming. If they wanted me invisible, I would walk in as the brightest thing in the room. But here is the part that truly pushed me over the edge, the part that made my decision final. My fiancé found out what they said. He confronted them. And instead of apologizing, instead of showing even a hint of shame, his mother looked him straight in the eyes and said, "We are doing this for you. She will ruin the family pictures." Not the marriage. Not the bond. Not the love. The pictures. That was when I realized something life-changing. These people were not villains. They were not cruel. They were shallow. And shallow people fear depth. I was everything they were afraid of. Real. Different. Uncontrollable. And that is why they wanted me gone. But I was not going anywhere. The wedding day was coming. And so was my moment. The morning of the wedding did not begin with excitement. It began with silence. A different kind of silence than I was used to. It was not empty or frightening. It was focused. Sharp. Like the air before a storm finally breaks open. I woke up knowing exactly who I was, exactly what they tried to do, and exactly how I planned to turn their cruelty into my spotlight. You must understand something important. I did not want revenge for the sake of revenge. I wanted to reclaim the dignity they tried so hard to erase. There is a special kind of power in rising without raising your voice, a kind of poetic justice in letting your presence speak louder than their hatred ever could. And that was the power I carried with me as I prepared for the day they hoped I would disappear from altogether. His family had arranged their own version of a bridal morning without me. They planned to gather, take pictures, drink tea, and pretend that the bride was not supposed to be there yet. They wanted my absence to feel normal. They wanted the narrative to bend around their desire to exclude me. But they had no idea where I was or what I was doing. While they were busy controlling the timeline, I was rewriting the story. My dress hung by the window like a quiet rebellion. It was not the traditional gown his mother suggested. It was not pale or muted or soft. It was striking, elegant, unique enough that no one could pretend I was an afterthought. I chose it because it represented everything they were afraid of: individuality, confidence, and the refusal to shrink myself for their comfort. Imagine standing in front of a mirror, looking at your reflection, and realizing this is not the version of you they expected to break. This is the version they accidentally helped create. That was the moment I smiled for the first time in days. Not a polite smile, a knowing one. I took my time getting ready. Not slow, not fast, just intentional. Every detail mattered because every detail would be a message. They wanted me invisible, so I made sure nothing about me could blend into the background. Not the hairstyle, not the jewelry, not the expression on my face. I walked out of my room that morning with a presence that felt like armor. When the car arrived to take me to the venue, I stepped inside knowing they were already there, already posing for pictures, already celebrating a version of this wedding where I barely existed. And that thought did not break me. It steadied me. Because while they were framing their perfect little images, I was about to step into the frame they tried to erase me from and dominate it. The ride to the venue felt surreal. Every street I passed reminded me of how far I had come emotionally, how much strength I found in places that once felt like wounds. It is strange how people pushing you down can actually push you forward when you stop needing their approval. As the venue came into view, I noticed something that made my heartbeat slow and sharpen at the same time. The guests were outside waiting. Beautiful outfits, polite conversations, small laughs filling the space. And then there was his family, clustered together like a curated sculpture, dressed sharply, holding themselves with that same manufactured elegance I had come to recognize. And then they saw me. It was not dramatic at first. It was subtle. His mother's smile froze for a second. His sister's eyebrows lifted slightly. His aunt whispered something into the air, as if her brain needed time to process what her eyes were seeing. They expected a girl who looked intimidated, insecure, maybe even fragile. They got someone entirely different. Imagine their confusion when the woman walking toward them was not shrinking, but radiating. Not apologizing, but owning every inch of the moment. Their faces shifted, piece by piece, until their expressions revealed the truth they had been hiding under all that fake charm. Disappointment mixed with fear. Not fear of me, fear of losing control. And they were right to fear it, because control was slipping away from them faster than they realized. The guests noticed, too. Eyes turned. Conversations paused. People stared in that way humans do when they sense something significant happening. But it was not my dress alone that caught their attention. It was something deeper. It was the confidence they thought I lacked. The presence they assumed I could never have. The quiet strength they never believed I possessed. As I walked through that entrance, I felt the atmosphere shift. Not violently, calmly, powerfully, like the tide quietly pulling back before a wave rises taller than anyone expects. His family could not stop staring, and the more they stared, the more their carefully crafted superiority began to fracture. His mother tried to regain control first. She approached me with a smile that trembled at the edges. She said something polite, something forced, something she wanted the guests nearby to hear. But her eyes revealed everything she truly felt: annoyance, shock, and the realization that her plan was failing before it even began. But here is the twist she never expected. I did not react the way she hoped. I did not shrink. I did not bow. I did not play the role of the grateful outsider. Instead, I responded calmly, respectfully, and confidently. Because sometimes the most powerful move is not confrontation. It is composure. Meanwhile, my fiancé saw me from across the yard, and I watched the breath leave his chest. Not because of the dress. Not because of my entrance. Because he finally saw the woman his family tried so hard to erase, and he realized how close he came to losing her. He walked toward me with a mixture of awe and guilt, and though his apology came later, his expression said enough in that moment. He knew what they did, and now he knew what I did in response. I rose. But the most unexpected part of the morning was yet to come. Something that would turn the atmosphere inside the venue upside down. Something that would make his family's control collapse completely. Because while they tried to plan the wedding around excluding me, they forgot one crucial detail. I had one final surprise waiting for them inside. And once they saw it, nothing, and I mean nothing, would ever be the same again. When I stepped inside the venue, the air felt different, charged, expectant, almost humming with a tension that had been building ever since his family tried to erase me from the day. Weddings usually carry a softness, a dreamy glow. But this one felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for the moment something would finally break open. And I knew I was walking straight into the center of that moment. The hall was beautifully decorated, but not in the way his mother wanted. She had pushed hard for her own style, something stiff, traditional, more about impressing her friends than celebrating love. What she did not know was that my fiancé and I had made some decisions together behind the scenes. Quietly, secretly. Decisions she never expected him to agree to. Decisions she thought she controlled. Imagine her face when she walked in and saw that the decorations she approved were not the ones hanging in the hall. Instead, the room reflected something real. Something warm. Something us. Soft lighting. Calm colors. A design that did not scream wealth, but whispered meaning. Every detail held a part of our story. Photographs from our first year together, subtle hints of the places we loved, small notes at each table that told moments of joy only we shared. She hated it. I could see the fury fighting its way up her throat the second she entered behind me. Her eyes darted everywhere like she was searching for someone to blame. She knew instantly this was not her doing. And for the first time that day, I watched her mask slip. Not much, just enough to reveal the anger boiling underneath. But the real surprise was waiting at the center of the hall. A video screen. Quiet. Unassuming. Not turned on yet. Only a handful of people knew what was coming. My fiancé walked to my side. He looked nervous, but calm. Guilty, but determined. And when he took my hand in front of everyone, his mother included, it was the first visible sign that her control had officially ended. Guests took their seats. The murmurs softened. A quiet hush settled across the hall as the lights dimmed for a moment. His mother leaned forward in confusion. His sister whispered something urgently. But before they could question anything further, the screen lit up, and the room transformed. The video began with soft music and a slow montage of photos. Me and my fiancé through the months. Our laughter. Our road trips. The late-night cooking disasters. The handwritten notes we left for each other. The real moments. The moments his family never bothered to ask about because they were too busy judging everything except the one thing that mattered: love. Then came the part that changed everything. A voice played, his voice. "Before we begin this day," he said, "there is something everyone needs to know. Something I should have said earlier. Something I should have defended better." Every head turned toward the screen. His mother stiffened like someone had poured cold water down her spine. He continued, "No one gets to decide who belongs in my life except me. No one gets to decide who the bride should be. No one gets to reduce her, exclude her, or make her feel unwelcome." A small gasp slipped from his aunt's mouth. "Because she is not just the bride," he said. "She is the reason I am standing here at all." The hall fell silent. Completely silent. My heart tightened inside my chest. I had no idea he recorded this. No idea he would say it. No idea he would publicly confront the people who raised him. But he did. And then came the line that froze his entire family in their seats. My mother did not want her here today, but I will say this clearly in front of everyone. She is the only person I want standing beside me for the rest of my life. The impact was instant. His mother's face drained of color. Not just embarrassment. Shock. She had spent months believing she could control the narrative, that she could manipulate him quietly, that her reputation meant more to him than his happiness. But this moment shattered every illusion she ever held. People began whispering, then looking at her, then looking back at me. Some were sympathetic, others judgmental. A few even smirked, as though satisfied that someone finally put her in her place. Weddings bring out more truth than people expect, and this truth was hitting her harder than she ever imagined. She tried to stand, maybe to protest, maybe to defend herself. But her husband gently pulled her back down, whispering something that made her freeze. Even he realized that fighting this moment would only make things worse. The video continued. "I love you," he said softly, "and I am proud to marry you today." My eyes stung, my breath trembled, but I held myself steady. Because this moment was bigger than emotion. It was justice, pure and simple. When the video ended, the hall erupted into applause louder than I expected. Guests stood, smiled. Some even wiped their eyes. And there I was, standing beside the man who just rewrote the entire story in front of the very people who tried to erase me. But the real twist was still unfolding. From that moment on, everything changed. His family did not know how to look at me. They were forced to see me, not as an intruder, not as a burden, not as a threat to their image, but as the woman standing beside their son by his choice, not theirs. During the ceremony, every word spoken carried weight. When I walked down the aisle, people watched with a different kind of silence, a respectful one, an admiring one, a silence that his family never intended me to receive. But it found me anyway. I did not ruin their picture. I became the center of it. The vows, the exchange of rings, the applause at the end, it all felt different now. Not because I won anything, but because I reclaimed what they tried to take. Even during the photos afterward, guests insisted I stand at the front, beside my husband, next to my friends, surrounded by people who actually valued my presence. And his mother? She stood stiffly at the edge of each picture, smiling with a tightness that betrayed everything she felt. She looked like someone who finally realized she lost a battle she never should have started. She tried to avoid my eyes the entire evening, not out of hatred, but out of shame. The world has a strange way of balancing itself. Sometimes the person they tried to hide becomes the person no one can stop looking at. As the night went on, more guests approached me, complimenting my dress, thanking me for the decorations, telling me how beautiful and confident I looked when I walked in. Each compliment chipped away at the narrative his family tried to build about me. And with every passing hour, their power dissolved a little more. By the end of the night, it was clear I did not just belong at that wedding. I was the star of it, and they would remember that for the rest of their lives. When we finally left the venue, hand in hand, my husband whispered, "I am sorry they made you feel unwanted." I looked up at him and said, "They did not break me. They built the version of me that walked in today." He smiled because he knew it was true. That day did not ruin me. It revealed me. And now I want to know, if you were in my place, would you forgive a family that tried to erase you? Or would you walk away forever? Let me know in the comments.